Con su experiencia liderando MCI Group en Canadá, Juliano desmitificará el miedo al fracaso y nos mostrará cómo convertirlo en el cimiento de la innovación. Una sesión imperdible para quienes buscan transformar sus organizaciones y mentalidades hacia un futuro innovador. Por favor, recibamos con un muy fuerte aplauso a Juliano Lissoni.
Hola, buenos días. Buenos días. Qué bueno estar acá. Muchas gracias, Raúl, por la invitación. Es mi primera vez el Talentland. Yo llegué y lo vi todo y dijo, esto es increíble. Y Raúl me dijo, es porque lo haremos de las personas para las personas. Esto es increíble. And I'm not going to try to speak in Spanish today because although I'm very proud about my, Spanish speaking skills, I wouldn't try to get this going in fully in Spanish today. So I'm going to be speaking in English. And I'm going to be talking about innovation. But I'm going to give you a different perspective of innovation. And probably if you are an entrepreneur, if you're someone that has been working with innovation, you know what I'm talking about. This is the book that I wrote with my colleague Fernando, and it was published in Brazil in May last year, and it became one of best-selling books on Amazon in Brazil. And you might think, well, this guy is in Mexico talking in English and wrote a book in Portuguese. It's because I'm Brazilian-Canadian, so I wrote this book originally in English. We got to publish it first in Brazil, and the English version is coming. And maybe we can have an experiment and ask Raul to translate to Spanish so he can give it to you, right? So I have 2 copies here, and as I need better pictures for my portfolio, I'm going to be giving these 2 copies for the ones that sent me on my LinkedIn, the 2 great pictures of me on stage. Wouldn't that be a nice challenge? So, talking about innovation, so you want to talk about innovation in a different perspective. And this book started years ago with a very interesting story. 8 minutes and 30 seconds left in the game. The Atlanta Falcons were winning the game against the New England Patriots by 28-3. What a big difference, 8 minutes and 30 seconds to the end of the game. And the result we know. The New England Patriots won the game. They overcame a difference of 28-3, and the one that was named the largest, the biggest comeback in the whole Super Bowl history. So by that time, all the media, everybody, they were talking about this handsome guy and how they turned around that game. And I was interested in the opposite. I wanted to know why the Falcons failed. What led them to be defeated in a game they were winning for such a big and large difference? And my research led to 3 key things: dangerous denial, structural inertia, and rational blindness. So I pick up the phone and I call Fernando, my colleague, and I said those 3 things to Fernando, those 3 findings I told him on the phone, and he stayed in silence for 15 seconds. And then he said, well, this is why companies fail. And he just started a research project a few months before about why companies disappear. And we got to know that the reason behind it is because those 3 findings. So who you think said this? But by the way, the PowerPoint changed the font, so I hope you don't mind. But who do you think said this sentence? I am speechless at this moment simply because I cannot believe it. Was it Mike Lazaridis from BlackBerry talking about the iPhone, or was Taylor Gabriel from the Atlanta Falcons? Who do you think said that? 1 or 2? A or B? A. No, it was Taylor Gabriel. It was the Atlanta Falcons. But when you look to a sentence that was said by Mike Lazaridis about the iPhone, how did they do that? You understand that the reasons behind are very similar. And this is not new in the corporate history. You have plenty of examples of people that deny a potential reality. The former CEO of Motorola, talking about the iPod, said, who wants to listen to 1,000 songs? Because the iPod was promising to have 1,000 songs in the pocket. This is what John Antioco from Blockbuster said about Netflix. Red Hastings tried to sell Netflix, and he said, I'm not interested. It's a niche business, and you know the rest of the story. Michael Eisner, he said, I made a $200 million mistake. Why? Because by that time, Disney had acquired a tech company, it's called InfoSeek. And this company developed what we call paid-for-performance search engine. And Google became famous about that. But InfoSeek also had developed that. But then they realized that, the search and the answers and everything that comes up on the screen is too polluted. It's not the Disney way, so they passed. They passed on the opportunity. Jay Samit, vice president of Sony, about the MP3, why Sony didn't invent the iPod. The only reason we didn't do this earlier is the guys didn't talk to each other. Sony was fighting against Napster instead of developing something that could change the life for them. And the reason is because we trust too much in one thing called competitive advantage. We get too good in doing the things we do. But the competitive advantages, they are no longer permanent. They are not going to stay forever. The things that we do to make our business to be successful today are not going to last forever. And this is the sign of the current times. And I call this kata. It's know all the answers. Most of the time, companies are full of people that know all the answers. Kata, know all the answers. This is the story of Lego, excuse me. So as you can see, Lego is a very successful company, but it was not always like that. In the early 2000s, Lego went to a lot of problems. They all went to bankruptcy. And why? Because by that time, Lego was suffering a strong competition from electronic games. People were changing from physical toys into video game and stuff. The big box stores like Walmart and Toys R Us, they had more purchase power. So they were influencing and giving the toy companies exactly what they wanted to buy. So Lego had less influence on the retail than they used to have. And there was China, products from China coming to the market. And also it was the moment that Lego, the patent was broken, which means that other competitors got into the market with cheaper products that could do almost the same and you can do with a Lego toy. So what did they decide to do? A lot of people didn't know all the answers. They said, well, let's innovate outside of the box. That's what we have to do. Like you heard that sentence many times, right? So they initiated a lot of new product developments. They launched Bionicle. They launched this new type of toy on the top left here, that through research to survey with customers, they found out that the kids, they prefer to play instead of build the toys. And they create a whole product line with less pieces to build. And then there was a failure because kids didn't want to do it. They tried the Legoland, they tried to enter in the content space by creating a TV show, and so on and so forth. And what happened? They failed miserably, right? Because, again, most of companies, they have 90% of the people, at least, that are the kata, know all the answers. And only 10% of people that do know all the answers, don't know all the answers. So what Lego did? Well, someone came and said, you know what? I think we should talk with the real specialists here. Well, but we are the specialists in this business. Yeah, but we are not 7 years old. So they decided to go and talk with kids and understand what they wanted to do. And they showed them a bunch of drawings and said, hey, can you guys create a storytelling about these drawings? And they realized that most of the stories were coming with ninjas. And eventually, Lego found a new hero, the ninjas. Well, now that we have a hero, what are we going to do about the bad guys? So they did the same process and asking kids. And the kids said, well, since ninjas are ancient figures, ancient characters, skeletons are also ancient, so the skeletons should be the enemy. And suddenly Lego had the storytelling. So they led the Ninjago, and Ninjago was the product that helped Lego to turn around the business from a burning platform, how it was named by the CEO, into, again, a very successful company. And it was through experimentation. And this is what Lego does even today. They decided to become something that the startups know quite well. A company where we don't know all the answers. But we go find out. because we change assumptions by hypothesis, and we allow ourselves what I call experimentation. And experimentation is a key feature on the book that Fernando and I wrote. But not all the failure is good, because I told you about embracing failure, right? And embracing failure means when you put yourself in the process to trying to find something that can be a new product, a new service, a new business model for your company, your organization, then you should embrace failure through those experiments. But not all failures are good. I don't want you to go home and thinking, oh, Juliano went to stage and said, you know, we all made mistakes. No, that's a bad failure. Negligence is a bad failure. Do you know what happens when a bad failure takes place? It can compromise a business model. I'm going to show you a very weird example. It's probably the weirdest example of big data that you ever saw. And it's, you know, I apologize, but I'm going to show it anyway. This is what happened some years ago in Hawaii, when people got a text message saying, we have an emergency alert. Seek for shelter. This is not a drill. Someone pressed the wrong button, and every single individual in Hawaii received this text message. And you know what happened? Well, some organizations, some companies suffer more than others because, you know. And this is the audience on Pornhub, okay, in Hawaii on that day. I don't have to explain what is Pornhub, I guess, right? So people are looking, you know, doing their things and going on and visiting. But when that message got to their phones, this is what happened with the audience on that website. Look at the size, the impact of that mistake. And this is what happened a few minutes later after people realized, well, this was a mistake. Let's go back to our lives. So it's a weird example, but this is a bad failure. This is not a failure that is created when people are trying to look for something that is new. And again, hypothesis instead of assumptions and experimentation as key things for success. We found out through our research in this book that the successful companies, they have cultures of experimentation, which means they allow people to find the answers, to go to find new products and services, and they allow them to make mistakes by doing so. They create ambidextrous structures, which means they can help innovation to be nurtured and to flourish in a protected environment from the traditional organizational culture. And they embrace the new products, the new services into what they call emergent strategies. This is not new, right? Professor Hal Gregerson from MIT, he said, there are common things behind the most innovative companies. They are very good at asking questions that can provoke the status quo. They observe, they network, they associate, they experiment in order to find creative solutions for a problem. And this led to the main three principles. If there's something I want you to go home today thinking about, it's not Pornhub, it's about the main principles, okay? And what are the main principles that you, as innovators, you that are going to work for companies, you that are going to create your own enterprises, you are going to be the next, you know, the founders of startups, if you already not. The three principles. Number one, questions are the answers. We should allow cultures, company, organizational cultures, to look more for questions than answers, because most of the time, when you ask the right questions, you gotta get better answers. Hasso Plattner, co-founder of SAP, he says, I wake up every morning wondering how many things I will be wrong about today. Isn't that a humble statement? But it's someone that's willing to go and explore and ask questions and trying to understand things better. The second principle, change assumptions by hypothesis. Don't try to be the one that has all the answers, okay? This is an example of what that means. This is the CEO of Uber, driving an Uber on the streets of San Francisco, trying to find out what it's really like to be an Uber driver. So instead of sitting in an office and looking to data and statistics and trying to understand what it means to be an Uber driver, he decided to put himself on the shoes of the driver So he changed the assumptions by hypothesis, going and trying, have the experience with his own eyes and ears. And third principle, learn how to run controlled experiments. And so when I say that, people always react like, okay, it's easy to say if you're Amazon or you're Booking.com, because basically you can do those digital experiments and people not even notice, and then you can do thousands a day, and then you can find new things. Yeah, but if you're not a tech company, you can also do that. Coinstar was a company that was built and grew by providing those machines that you could go on a supermarket, on a retail store, and you get a bunch of coins that you have at home or in your pocket, and you go to those machines, you get those coupons, and you can use those coupons in that store, the same store that you're putting your coins on. And then at some point, they realized, well, our growth is flat. We don't know what to do. And someone said, what if we give people gift cards that can spend those gift cards in any store, in any place, in any supermarket they want to go? And they thought, well, this is a great idea, but I'm not sure if it's going to work. So let's try. Let's run an experiment. So they got this cardboard box. They create 2 holes. They said, put your coins here, get your gift card here. They invited an employee to sit inside of that box, and people would come with the coins. They'll give the coins. The employee will take the coins. You give back a gift card. Simple. 2 days of running the experiment, they realized this is going to be massive. And indeed, it changed the whole future of the company, because they were able to provide a new service to their customers and improve the customer experience in the relationship between the company and the brand. So yes, you can run experiments. I was telling my good friend Don Tapscott, I just got off the phone. I was with a client on a call, because we got a big contract thanks to an experiment that I decided to run, and it was nothing digital. So yes, you can run experiments on any type of business, and this is the third principle. In the end of the day, innovation only thrives when we see that this failure, the good failure, the failure that happens when we go and trying to find new products, new services, new business models, those are not setbacks. Those are steps forward on the path to discovery. Muchas gracias a todos. Y acá tienen my LinkedIn, and I have 23 seconds left on my time. Thank you very much. I hope you have a great day with the rest of the content and experience at Talentland. Thank you very much.